Significant developments tonight in Denver's fight over supervised drug injection sites. We now know where that site is likely to go, who the first Republican co-sponsor is, and a key supporter is fed up with the opposition.
So I think that it's appalling.
We'll also hear directly from the guys facing the potential of life in prison for smuggling marijuana when they insist it's totally legal hemp.
Yeah, we would have been the world's worst drug traffickers for sure if we would have just actually sat there and let them arrest us.
A fixture in Cherry Creek North finds the neighborhood a bit too rich for its taste. And when they make over the National Western Complex, there is one thing they won't touch. That's next. The man at the center of a bizarre story is out of jail and back in Colorado. Back from Oklahoma, where he's facing 15 years to life for trafficking marijuana. He says he was transporting completely legal and completely not intoxicating hemp, bringing it here. We'll tell that to the small-town police in Oklahoma, who think they've made one of the biggest pot busts in history. Here's our Anusha Roy.
Andrew Ross believes he's been caught in the wild, wild west of new hemp laws.
In the beginning, we know that what we're doing was legal.
Tangled up in a government shutdown.
That's why they say, dot your I's and cross your T's. And,
that played out in the news.
I guess today they didn't.
As a gigantic pot bust.
Yeah, we would have been the world's worst drug traffickers for sure if we would have just actually sat there and let them arrest us while claiming it was industrial hemp.
Ross is with Patriot Shield, veterans who help with security in the cannabis industry, which is what they say they were doing last week, as they accompanied a truck carrying hemp through Oklahoma on its way to Colorado.
It's like $500,000 plus worth of product.
Police pulled them over for running a red light. They say they smelled marijuana, saw this, ran a field test, and thought they just made history.
The only thing that actually needs to happen to get all this cleared up is to get some proper testing procedures done.
It's history, all right. As of December, hemp is now legal under federal law as long as the THC levels are below 0.3%. Ross said that test could be done in 24 hours, except this time it was sent to a federal lab during a government shutdown.
Unfortunately, the lab that is going to do the levels is in Washington, D.C., and based upon the furloughs, we don't have that back yet.
The people leading the charges against him are confident they have a case.
We have probable cause to believe that the people who were driving the vehicle and the people who were in the security van knew that it was marijuana.
And it matches Ross's confidence that his name will be clear.
If I can go back and get a consulting agreement with Osage County to teach them how to test hemp on the spot, I would love to do that.
So that hemp was on its way to a Louisville company who also said that they were doing their homework to make sure that this hemp was legal. Ross is now left wondering, why not do this test somewhere else? I don't know, like a state that would have a lab that is still open right now.
How about that? So he's back here.
Yep.
His partner's back here.
They're both back.
The two truck drivers, they're African immigrants. They don't have the bond money. They're sitting in jail in Oklahoma waiting for this to play out.
Yeah, we checked today. They are still behind bars, still waiting for that test that we don't know when it's going to come through.
One way or the other, those guys deserve an answer most of all. All right, Anusha, thank you. If state legislators approve a supervised drug injection site, it is likely to go right across the street from the Capitol. I mean, like straight across Colfax from the Gold Dome. Democratic State Senator Brittany Petterson tells Next that it is highly likely that the supervised injection site would go into the existing needle exchange program, which is at 213 East Colfax. It's the Harm Reduction Action Center. Opponents of these sites have suggested that the injection sites might go into suburban neighborhoods. In fact, Petterson's Republican opponent claimed just that in a mailer last year. Is your community a good place for a supervised injection site, Lakewood?
So no, it would be in areas where there's a high percentage of people who are injecting drugs. So there isn't an area in Lakewood where I think that this would be actually successful. I think that this is in downtown Denver currently, where we have the needle exchange site that's right across the street from the Capitol. There are already people who are going through this site. We have people who are already using. If we don't create this site, they're going to be in the parks, in the alleys, in the public bathrooms. It doesn't stop use.
Have you had other municipalities privately reach out to you and express interest in doing this besides Denver?
No, I think that everybody wants to see how this is actually implemented. This is really a partnership with law enforcement. This is a partnership with the community. This is about public safety and public health. Doctors here in Colorado, nationally and internationally, support this because it reduces the spread of HIV and hepatitis C. It keeps people alive today and increases access to treatment ultimately.
Last night, the mayor of Denver, Michael Hancock, sat where you're sitting and he backpedaled on what used to be his full support of these sites. Does that surprise you?
I think that right now there's been a lot of pressure. People are trying to use this as a political tactic to draw fear for people. Unfortunately, this stigmatizes folks that are most at risk of overdosing and the people who need our help the most. So it's actually really frustrating to see. I understand why he's raising some concerns. I think that it's our job to prove to Coloradans that we can do this well and that we can save lives.
You can see our full unedited conversation with Senator Pedersen on the next YouTube channel. Republican House Minority Leader Patrick Neville is threatening recalls for Democrats who support this plan. You'll recall that 3 Democrats got booted 5 years ago for their support of controversial gun control laws. And Neville will be my guest here on Next tomorrow. We confirmed late tonight that this supervised injection site bill does have a Republican co-sponsor in the Senate. The Senate is where things are going to get sticky for this bill. Republican Senator Kevin Priola of Henderson told me tonight he's on board with this idea. He texted me saying, quote, "I'm a pro-life Catholic. Saving lives and looking out for my fellow man and woman is what Scripture teaches." Our next question comes from a viewer named Rachel. She saw Mayor Hancock on our air last night announcing his re-election. She tweeted, "Wouldn't this be Mayor Hancock's 3rd term? Why don't we have term limits?" Denver does have term limits, Rachel. Hancock is running for his 3rd and final term. Wellington Webb is the last mayor to serve all 12 years. Term limits vary by city in Colorado. Boulder, for instance, they don't have any. On this Throwback Thursday, let's kick it back to Denver, 1994. That's the last year the city's teachers went on strike. Same issue then as today, pay. They walked out for 5 days in 1994. Right now, Denver Public Schools has less than 48 hours to reach an agreement or teachers could vote to go on strike. They're expected to keep talking clear up to tomorrow's midnight deadline. If teachers vote to strike and the state does not intervene, then that DPS strike would begin on the 28th. Aurora fire investigators say they are done with their work at the Heather Gardens complex 5 full months after an explosion killed a woman who lived in that senior living community. Firefighters have not released their determination about the cause of that explosion and fire. Governor Jared Polis must be some kind of secret fan of our Polis's Promises segment because every day in office he has given us a reason to fire up our little graphic, which honestly I think it might be better with some backup singers, you know. Polis's Promises. Today, the Clean Energy Edition.
We're going to be 100% renewable energy by 2040. So yes, we want to be in that first group of states to get it done.
It means working to electrify our cars and buses and trucks, and it means taking advantage of modern technology to use energy more efficiently.
There is the promise. All right, so one thing that Polis has promised is to build more electric charging stations. And our Marshall Zellinger is hanging out at one tonight.
Kyle, I hope if there are going to be more electric charging stations, they won't be as testy as the one that doesn't allow Tesla charging here. As we've mentioned, he said 100% renewable energy by 2040 is not a mandate, meaning he won't require it. So today, when he went to an electric vehicle parking spot to make an announcement of one of his first executive orders, he went as far as he could about electric vehicle charging stations as he could without mandating it himself.
He arrived in an electric car at an electric charging station, so it was pretty obvious Governor Jared Polis was making an electric car announcement.
This executive order that we're announcing today.
Polis signed an executive order today asking the Air Quality Control Commission to out-Hickenlooper and require zero-emission standards on Colorado vehicles.
It's far more energy efficient than internal combustion engines in every vehicle. Electrifying vehicles leads to cleaner air today as well as saving consumers money.
He requested his new public health director to help get the zero-emission vehicle standard in place by the end of October. And if that happens, this happens.
In a few years, 10% of Colorado's vehicles need to be electric vehicles. 10% of the vehicles sold in the state.
Car manufacturers would be required to sell 1 electric car out of every 10 cars sold. His executive order also comes with a goal, which isn't required, and maybe because it might be hard to reach. Polis has a goal of 940,000 electric vehicles on the road by 2030. His energy office estimates there are currently 15 to 16,000. And one industry that won't have to contribute 1 car more, farming. That's exempt.
Sectors like agriculture that have unique needs, and nothing in this executive order adds any restriction on tractors or specialized farm equipment that are important for the competitiveness of our agriculture industry.
Here's a question whether you have an electric car or not that you'll care about. Who's going to pay for all these if they start popping up all over the state? Well, when Volkswagen cheated the emission testing a while back, Colorado got $70 million, and the governor wants a good chunk of that, part of that money to go toward building these stations across the state. That means companies would apply for grants, and when you go to take one, you can't just take it out. It's not going to be free. You're going to have to pay for it.
All right, Marshall, I have 2 quick questions. It seems like Governor Polis is having a pretty torrid pace of these press events right out of the gate. I don't recall that with previous governors.
No, and I was making the joke with his staff that this is the 4th or 5th time in the last week that I've been with the governor because he's doing an announcement, and I think this is stuff that he's prepared for the last 2 months, but I don't remember Hickenlooper being like this either.
Very interesting. And also, the Democrat from Boulder pulls up in a Prius. I feel like he's just trolling Republicans at this point. All right, Marshall, thank you. Hey, it's a sign that even some well-known businesses find Cherry Creek North too expensive to get by these days. I'm afraid that I just talked over my friend Marshall there. He had something to add. I feel poorly about this, and I just want to acknowledge it. Anyway, the Pure Vita Fitness and Spa Center in Cherry Creek announced today it's closing by April 15th. They say it's just not financially viable for them to be in that prime real estate. According to the center, depending on how people cancel their memberships, they could close before April 15th. They're hoping to find a new location by the end of this year. It might be 2020, they said. We thought this was a pretty good sign of where Denver is headed. You can send your signs to the hashtag HeyNext or email next@9news.com. You knew the National Western Stock Show complex is getting completely remade, but did you know there is one thing they won't lay a hand on? Some Platte Canyon high schoolers had a wild idea.
It's kind of crazy, but not too crazy.
They want to do something no other high schoolers in America have done. That's next. The National Western Stock Show complex is getting a makeover. It's a multi-year project, long in the works. We have told you what's changing. Tonight, a look at what is staying the same, something that could become a landmark.
The National Western Center is all about connections. And this building and the Stockyard Saloon are such a great example of that. The past connecting to the future. I'm Brad Buchanan. I'm the CEO with the National Western Center Authority.
Keith Fessenden. I'm the archivist historian for the National Western Stock Show. So this is the grand old stairway that goes to the top. And as far as I know, this is an original chandelier to the building.
One of the things I think is amazing is this area, when you think about it, stockyards. You don't think about great architecture, but these buildings are great architecture.
It's ornate, it's well built, and it's just a beautiful building.
So this building is a collection of actually 3 structures.
This new section was built in 1916, and then there's a center section that was the Livestock Exchange building that was built in 1898.
This is the original 1898 building, and this is the beginning of the 1919 building where the Stockyard Saloon is today.
It was kind of the heart of the Denver Union Stockyards.
It was the center of all agricultural commerce for the entire region.
Everybody kind of staged out of this building.
None of these buildings are going to be demolished. We hope that the Stockyard Saloon, and since it's been here the last 100 years, we want it to be here for the next 100 years too.
I think it's wonderful that the building's going to stay and be repurposed, reused. It's great for any structure that's elegant, as this old lady is, to still stay with us.
How much do I love the National Western Stock Show stories and some stock show weather coming. Yes, we were close to 60 in downtown Denver and now snow in the forecast tomorrow. Not a lot, but you'll feel the change with the arrival of a mid-morning cool front and a cold north wind. Today, the official high was 54, but downtown a whole lot warmer. Temperatures starting to cool back a bit now with the arrival of that front that's bringing snow and wind to the high country. Winter weather and travel advisories have been posted for the mountains, and well, that's just something that we're going to continue to track. As that Pacific moisture plume moves into Colorado, the wind-driven snow and an unstable snowpack means avalanche advisories will be extended from Steamboat to Aspen Vale and down to Telluride. Cold air is coming our way from the north, that front moving our way from the west and kind of putting the squeeze play on us here. It'll be cloudy and colder tomorrow with scattered rain and snow showers, less than an inch of accumulation here, but heavy snow continues in the mountains, and prepare for winter driving conditions as early as tonight on I-70. Cloudy and cool tonight, low 31. Tomorrow, cloudy and colder, rain and snow showers, high 42. A dry weekend, a chance for snow on Monday and then again on Thursday afternoon.
A guy slacklining over Clear Creek is not the most Colorado thing we've seen today, and we'll explain why. Yacht Club. Did they have one at your high school?
And we jokingly say, what a great thing to put on your college application, you know, that you did something like this.
And to think, these kids live in the foothills. That's next. If you want to win a bet, ask someone who does not watch next whether Platte Canyon High School up in Bailey has a yacht club. They will laugh you out of the room, and you'll keep the money, because that small school up in the foothills does have a yacht club, one with big plans for spring break.
Mr. Hanford's kind of crazy, and I have strange ideas, and I throw them out there, but then he says, okay, here's how we can do it, and then it kind of freaks me out, because next thing I know, we're doing it. Kip Otteson, I'm a special education teacher at Platte Canyon High School. This is the first year Platte Canyon High School has had a yacht club. This is the first event that we're attempting. It's called the 70-48, and it's a 70-mile race over 48 hours, and we go from Tacoma to Port Townsend, Washington. No high school team has ever done it, and nobody from Colorado has ever registered for it. In the boat, we're going to have 19 people, which is a ton. Most of the boats that race, the most they have is like 2 or 3. And so this is kind of crazy. It's girls and boys. And a big part of this was, where are they going to go to the bathroom?
Otteson actually wants everyone to get a hoop skirt and just like you squat over a bucket.
But we thought they could wear some kind of a skirt thing that we could pass around if they need to go, and then they can go over a bucket.
And then you just chuck whatever's in the bucket over the side. That's our best plan right now.
What I've been thinking to myself is we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
As we don't know about outrigger racing and canoe racing, we do not know how to do this.
We are competing to finish.
All the lakes up here are frozen right now. The first place we're going to test the boat, I know it's going to be in the school pool.
Well, so our plan was just stick it in and see if we don't sink it and try and get everybody in and out.
STEM is based on like building things and solving problems, and this is really a problem-solving missions, and they're kind of tough mountain kids, as we say.
Mr. Otteson told us he eventually hopes that stories like this one will pop up in online searches when you type in Platte Canyon High School, instead of just stories about the shooting on that campus when a man whose name doesn't matter took the life of Emily Keyes. It seemed like the most Colorado thing we've seen today, until we learned it's actually not how you Colorado. That, and I understand Marshall Zellinger would like to have a word with me. Next. So the most Colorado thing a next viewer named Bobby sent us is actually not how you Colorado. I mean, it's kind of a wow either way. It's somebody slacklining over Clear Creek in Golden yesterday, but we checked and the Jeffco Sheriff's Office says it is super illegal to attach slack lines to trees or structures in county's open space. City of Golden is not down with this either, so I'm sorry, man, that is not how you Colorado. Bruce Williams writes in, hey Kyle, if the National Western Complex is being completely redone but one part is the same, then you saying completely is not factually correct. You're being sensational. It was a poor word choice, Bruce, but I'm not sure that it was sensational. I also don't think it's the biggest mistake that I made today. So let's welcome back in Marshall Zellinger, who I interrupted. My apologies.
That's all right.
And now a correction.
Nissan Leaf is the car that the governor wrote up, and it's not even his. Lieutenant Governor Diane Primavera has the Nissan Leaf, and now I need to find out if the Capitol has an electric vehicle charging station. Maybe we'll have the answer for you tomorrow on Next.